Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to this community of practice meeting of the Creative Forces Community Engagement Grant Program. My name is Matt Elmore, and I'm the Grant Programs Coordinator here at Mid-America Arts Alliance. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm speaking to you today from my apartment office in the Bronx, New York, where it is raining and not 100 degrees for the first time in like 4 days. So I'm so happy about that, that I can be in my unair conditioned office and be comfortable for you today. So that's enough to celebrate. Speaking of being comfortable, please do whatever you need to be comfortable in this meeting. Your video can be on or off. You can grab a refreshing beverage. I have water if you're thirsty, or a bite to eat if you're hungry. Whatever works for you. As I just started recording, I'll note that we are recording this meeting and it'll be available probably sometime early next week on the Ma Creative Forces grantee website. What is the Ma Creative Forces grantee website? Well, that's the link that you can see in the chat right there that has a lot of really helpful information for you that you might refer to throughout your grant period. And I'll be referencing it a few times throughout today's talk. So as we get started, feel free to drop any questions into the chat, and we will do our best to either answer them now or in a follow-up email real soon. And with that, let's get started with today's agenda. First, we'll be introducing the Creative Forces teams at both the NEA and Mid-America Arts Alliance. Second, I'll do a quick overview of some key grant program reporting requirements. Third, we'll be talking about some of the opportunities for networking and organizational development that are available to you as a Creative Forces grantee. And finally, we'll introduce Sean and Candace of ProgramWorks, who are working on the NEA's evaluation of the Creative Forces grant program, kind of the evaluation at large of all of the work that we're all doing. So outside of the information we'll be covering, I hope you can take two things away with you today. The first is that if you have any questions about your grant award, you can always feel free to reach out to me, and I'll do my best to respond as quickly as possible. And the second thing to know is that you are not alone in the work that you are doing to bring arts to military communities. As you can see demonstrated by the number of people on this call today, we're all in this work. And there's a lot that we can learn from one another, and that's what we're intending to do over the next year. So with that, let's move forward in introducing the NEA team. Just a little bit about Creative Forces, a little boilerplate for everybody. Creative Forces, the NEA Military Healing Arts Network, is an initiative of the National Endowment for the Arts in partnership with the U.S. Departments of Defense and Veterans Affairs that seeks to improve the health, well-being, and quality of life for military and veteran populations exposed to trauma, as well as their families and caregivers. Creative Forces operates programming in both clinical and community settings, providing various avenues for military-connected people and their families and caregivers to advance their health and well-being through the arts. With us today, Bill O'Brien is the project director for Creative Forces at the National Endowment for the Arts and is the captain of our proverbial ship. Also joining us is Mary Sellers, program manager for Creative Forces at the NEA. Bill and Mary, would you like to take a moment to unmute and introduce yourselves?
Sure. Thanks, Matt. Great to be here with you all today, and welcome to our Creative Forces collaboration. We were super inspired to see the projects that you all put forward in your applications, and just want to call out, this is a very competitive grant application pool, somewhere between 1 in 4 and 1 in 4 and 1 in 5 applications succeed. And there's lots of really, really great work happening around the arts in support of our military and veteran populations. And you guys are exemplary models of that. So thrilled to have you with us. We look forward to introducing you to some of the other support folks that are going to be on the agenda later today to provide additional support in your work. But mostly, I just want to say welcome. And we really do have such a deep appreciation for the work that you guys are carrying out, and our leadership across administrations, and including and maybe especially the leadership we have in place now is very dedicated and committed to this work. So delighted to have you with us, and we're delighted to be supporting this work, and can't wait to be, getting updates and hearing how things are unfolding as your projects hit the ground. And with that, I'll just go ahead and send it over to Mary. I think Mary is on. I know she
I
was.
am. I am. Thank you, Bill. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Sellers. I am the program manager for Creative Forces at the NEA. And I'm just really excited to welcome you all and say congratulations because, as Bill said, very competitive pool and just amazing projects. It's so, so cool to read about all the work that's happening and how the NEA can support it. So if you need anything or ever want to share a story with us, we would love to hear it. So welcome. And yeah, I'll pass it back to Matt.
Okay, thanks, Bill and Mary. I'd also like to quickly introduce Sean and Candace from ProgramWorks. They've been contracted by the NEA to conduct a broad evaluation of the Creative Forces Community Engagement Grant Program. Sean and Candace, would you like to say hi real quick?
Sure. Thanks, Matt. I'm Sean, and I'm going to stop there because we're going to talk to you a little bit later in this webinar.
And I will say the same thing. I'm Candace, and I will provide more information near the end of the webinar.
Thanks for that teaser. That's really great to keep things moving. Well, like they're saying, we'll hear more information about the grant program evaluation later on. Next, let's move on to introducing the team here at Mid-America Arts Alliance. Mid-America Arts Alliance, or MA, as we tend to call it, operates the Creative Forces Community Engagement Grant Program under a cooperative agreement with the National Endowment for the Arts, which is to say that we run the day-to-day operations of the grant program. Here's a little bit of information about MA. The mission of Mid-America Arts Alliance is to strengthen and support artists, cultural organizations, and communities throughout our region and beyond. Since 1972, when the Mid-America Arts Alliance opened its doors, we've had the pleasure of working at various times in partnership with all three federal arts and culture agencies. Our vision being more art for all people, Mid-America Arts Alliance is one of 6 nonprofit regional arts organizations in the country, which means that some of MA's grant making and programming is limited to serving the arts in Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Texas. However, the Creative Forces Community Engagement Grant Program is open to entities across the nation, and that's why you're all here and not just in the Midwestern part of the United States. To introduce the MOD team, I'll start by introducing myself. Again, my name is Matt Elmore. I'm the Grant Program Coordinator for Creative Forces, which means that I'm your primary contact for anything related to the grant program. I live in the Bronx, New York, and outside of my sterling career in grants management, I'm also a practicing musician with a PhD in music theory and composition. Next, I'll turn it over to my supervisor, Christine, who is joining us from a family reunion, so I imagine she might want to make a quick introduction.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Christine Bile. I'm the Director of Humanities Grant Program for Mid-America Arts Alliance. Our main offices are in Kansas City, Missouri, but I live out in Lawrence, Kansas. But I'm speaking to you today from Posh, Appleton, rather, Wisconsin. I am doing a family reunion and a family wedding this weekend. My background is in stage management. That I am an Actors Equity Union member and stage manager parade, but I've been with Mid-America for 15 years now. So welcome. We're so glad to have you. Matt, back to you.
Thank you, Christine. MA also contracts with experts to support the grant program. This includes Art DeGroat, one of our military affairs advisors, who is our military affairs advisor, who helps us ensure that the grant program is designed and implemented in a way that meets the needs of military communities. Art is a retired lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army and is also the founder of Military and Veterans Affairs at Kansas State University. Unfortunately, I don't believe Art was able to be here today to say hi, but if he were here, he would be a gracious person saying hello to you all. So with that, finally, I'd like to introduce our experts in data collection evaluation from a technical assistance perspective at Veritas Management Group. And that's Monica and Aisha, who are evaluation pros who have a real gift for being humble partners as they're tasked with helping each of our grantee organizations develop capacity, not only to collect and analyze quantitative, qualitative data, but also how to present that data to a wide variety of audiences who need to know about your work. Monica and Aisha, would you like to say a quick hello?
Yes, thanks, Matt, for that kind introduction. I'm Monica LaBelle. I serve as the director for the TA work that we do with you all, and we're so happy to be joining you for another year. And I'll turn it over to my colleague Aisha.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Aisha Rasul, and I'm also very excited to be able to work with you all. You'll be hearing from me relatively soon to connect with you all one-on-one. And yeah, good to see everyone's faces this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you both. We'll hear more about the services that Monica and Aisha have to offer you in a little bit, like they just said. That's it for the who's who. I know that that's a lot, but again, in the end, if you ever have any questions about who's who and what's going on, you can always come back to me. But now that we have a basic idea of who's who of Creative Forces, let's shift to an overview of some important administrative requirements of your grant award. Oh, the fun stuff. Here's the summary of the requirements for grantee tasks in the Creative Forces Community Engagement Grant Program. This includes grant management requirements that are in your grant agreements and in the federal regulations, submitting reports, providing project updates, sending us photos of your project when you can, and participating in an evaluation interview with ProgramWorks, who you just met, Sean and Candace. So, the first requirement is rather broad, but very relevant. We are all here to be responsible stewards of public funds, and we can do so by following the compliance requirements found in your Creative Forces grant agreement, which includes grants management requirements for federal awards that are in the Uniform Guidance at 2 CFR Part 200. I won't go into detail about every single accounting regulation or record retention requirement, but if you ever have a question about an administrative requirement in your grant agreement or in the Uniform Guidance, please feel free to reach out to me. The second requirement is the submission of interim and final reports. Let's do a quick overview of those reports now. The interim report is due at the beginning of the grant. Essentially, it asks for updates about your project from the time when you applied. It's totally reasonable that some things might have shifted in the 6 months that have elapsed since you applied for the grant. So we want to be sure to understand if there's been any changes in project scope, goals, or budget, especially. On that report, we also ask for any key dates or events in case there's an opportunity for the Creative Forces team to be there to support your event and help tell the story of the work you're doing across the nation. Most of you have already submitted your interim reports, but if you haven't yet, please do so we can issue your initial grant payment, which I know is very important. If you're not sure if you've submitted your interim report, please reach out to me. That's the recurring theme today. If you have any questions, just reach out to me. The final report is due 30 days after the end of your grant period. And since we all basically have the same grant periods, if you're just now starting a 1-year grant or entering the second year of a 2-year grant from 2 years ago, oh, this is fun. Your final report will be due in July of 2026. If you're starting a 2-year grant right now, your final report will be due in July of 2027. The final report asks for a description of project activities in terms of what was accomplished, what challenges were encountered, who benefited, what did you learn from your experience, and if there was improvement in your organizational capacity to improve or expand upon projects like the one that was funded. The report also asks for a project activity data, such as the number of participants served, the number and type of project activities that took place, and how many people worked on the project. The final report requires you to report on all required funding that went towards the project. And that contains the minimum 1-to-1 cost share. So we need you to identify the source and amount of all contributions to the project by, be they other grants, private donations, in-kind donations, or organizational cash reserves. You'll receive a specific link to your organization's final report from me within 3 months from the end of your award period. But if you're ever concerned, again, reach out. The next requirement of note is that you keep us informed of key project dates and events. It's important that MA is informed about newly confirmed events or changes to dates for project events, because we want to be able to support your events as much as possible. If your project encounters any major changes in scope, budget, or key staff, by the way, please send me an email and let me know. It's always possible to make necessary adjustments to budgets and projects, and we are happy to support you when we're working through extenuating circumstances. Project photos. When it's appropriate, we'd very much like to receive photos from your project in action. By appropriate, I mean, please don't do anything that would endanger your patient's privacy. By patient, I mean participant. Significantly, I mean participant. Excuse me. We take photo consent very seriously at Creative Forces, so accompanying your photos should be a signed media release form for any person who is identifiable in the photos. There's a media release form that can be found on the Creative Forces grantee page on MA's website. And gee, if I just go to the chat and drop that in again, it'll be reiterated. In addition to signed released forms, please provide a caption of the activity happening in a photo when you provide a photo, and include the names and military affiliation of the people who are in the photos as well, if you have that information. And of course, provide a photographer credit as well. You can submit, there is a submission form again on that grantee website, but if you prefer to do it through email, that's fine too. Just reach out. Just a few more points to cover on grant requirements. Next is crediting requirements. It's a good thing that when the public understands that taxpayer funds were used to support your work. It's good that people know about that. So all grantees are required to add the Creative Forces crediting language and logos on your website and other grant materials, other materials that are related to your project. The crediting and Creative Forces logos, of which there are brand new ones that we will be updating very soon, can be found on MA's grantee webpage. That new logo will be up within the next couple of days, but you've seen it at the beginning of this slideshow and you'll see it again soon. It's the America 250 added onto it, like you see in so many other federal agencies. I think I saw it at a post office advertisement the other day. Okay, let's get beyond the requirements. Let's talk about opportunities for networking, professional development, and capacity building. The first opportunity to mention is what we're doing here now, the community of practice meetings, or the all hands as we call them sometimes. These meetings are primarily for you to network with one another and have discussions with your peers about topics that are important to you. Today's meeting is largely informational, but moving forward, we'll mostly be just providing this meeting as a space for conversations. The next community of practice meeting will be held in the fall, and soon a full schedule will be provided in the coming weeks. If there is a discussion you'd like to have with other grantees in this space, please let me know and I'll try my best to facilitate. Moving on, next March, we will be holding an in-person convening of all grantees at the NEA offices in Washington, D.C. MA is able to support up to 2 representatives from each grant project to attend the convening. So please be considering now who from your organization might be best suited to attend. The convening will be held sometime during the week of March 16th in 2026. And it is also a place for you to network with one another and learn from each other's experiences on topics related to serving military-connected communities. I know several of you have noted interest in presenting at the March convening in your interim reports. Thank you for letting me know. I am reviewing those proposals to develop the possible themes for our convening and consider which grantees might be best suited to present together. However, if you have any thoughts about what you'd like to see at the convening next March, please shoot me an email. Finally, and getting into the real good stuff, as a Creative Forces grantee, you have access to the services of Aisha and Monica at Veritas Management Group. In fact, I'm going to turn over the floor to Monica and Aisha to introduce this partnership opportunity, and I will stop sharing my screen so you can share yours.
All right, thank you again, Matt. I'm Monica LaBelle. I'm joined today by my colleague Aisha Rasul. Aisha serves as the lead for the technical assistance services that we provide for you. And you'll see maybe a couple of other faces from our internal team from time to time, but Aisha's the one that you will see the most.
Are the slides up? Can you see?
Yes, they are. You can go ahead and
Okay.
advance. Yeah. Yeah. So just to bring it all the way back to the beginning, or maybe the end, as you all as you all will know from having put together successful applications, on the screen here are the overall program outcomes that are the goal for the entire grant program: creative expression, social connectedness, resilience, and independence and successful adaptation to civilian life. We are each here because we are contributing towards these outcomes in colorful and interesting and unique ways. Each of you has a really wonderful contribution to make here and a story to tell. And our role as TA providers for evaluation is to help you to tell that story and help us to glean insights from how you are telling that story and how you are working towards these outcomes. So before we get to outcomes, we have to look at the process. We have to look at the roadmap of how we're going to get towards those outcomes. That's where Veritas Management Group can come in for you. We're going to help you to look at your program in a continuous and systematic way so that you can understand along the way how you are getting to those outcomes, how you are telling your story, what resources you have to tell your story, and how you can improve it along the way, learning from what you are doing as well as from what your peers here on this call are doing. That will look like planning. What do we do? Implementation. How do we do it? Measuring and monitoring. How are we doing what we're doing and how do we know? And then evaluating. Why are we doing well or poorly and what can we do to tweak it? So evaluation can benefit you in a lot of ways. This is not just an added burden to your grant administration. It's really to make your grant administration easier. You'll be able to provide through evaluation reliable, systematic, and valid insight about your program's implementation. Were your program's activities put into place as intended? About effectiveness. Is your program achieving the goals and objectives it was intended to accomplish? And is it doing so in an efficient way? Efficiency. Are your program activities being produced with an appropriate and timely use of resources? So we can help you do all of that through evaluation. Matt alluded to some of the reporting requirements that you'll have as a function of administering your grants. We can help you with those reporting requirements as well. They're more than requirements. They help MA to administer the grant program. They help all of us to have insights on how we're doing at getting to those outcomes we talked about. The technical assistance that we provide takes 3 different forms. The first is group TA. And so that mostly takes the form of tailored tools and resources that you have at your disposal, as well as connection at the annual meeting that Matt just described. Those tools and resources are simple templates and guidelines and brief descriptions in the form of recorded videos that you can use to carry out different aspects of evaluative thinking and acting on your programs. That might look like assistance with logic models. It might look like assistance with visualizing data. It might be a tip sheet on how to conduct a survey or put together an interview guide. We have lots of tools and resources already in existence, and we have tools and resources being created in direct response to what you identify your own needs and wants to be. Secondly, we have peer-to-peer assistance. So we facilitate webinars and workshops with opportunities for you to share with each other what it is that you're doing, what's working, and how it's working. This way, not only can you learn from each other, we can all learn from you in terms of what is working. How are we all getting to those four lofty outcomes that we outlined at the beginning? And finally, individual TA. This is one-on-one TA with grantees who would like specific guidance for their project. Often those TA requests look like, help with maybe a survey development or looking over some questions that you'd like to use for focus groups or interviews. Sometimes it's for logic model help. Sometimes people just want help thinking through how do you tell your story and what are some creative ideas for telling your story. And all of those are welcome. And Aisha will be in touch with you down the road to indicate how you can request that kind of individual technical assistance. But we are here to listen, here to help, here to problem solve with you. And we are committed to being responsive and rapid with that assistance. So I mentioned the group support, and again, the sorts of tailored tools and resources that we have for you are in the form of a webinar. Like an example would be a webinar and a template for describing what a logic model is and how to put together a simple one. There's another example of a webinar and a set of related FAQs around creating useful surveys that are going to be relevant to and tailored to your own program. We have tip sheets. One example would be how to tell your story and share what you've learned. So these are all meant to be really simple. You don't have to be an evaluator tool by profession. Tools that you can use that will be immediately helpful in both administrating your grant and in telling your story. The peer-to-peer support is meant to be sort of three-pronged. It provides information to you, basic information on different tools and aspects of evaluation. It provides a forum for exchange and a way to foster community among all of us so that we can learn from each other, support each other in the inevitable challenges that happen along the way. And then empowerment, just empowerment to be able to administer these ambitious programs with limited resources, and empowerment to conduct and carry out useful evaluation, even if you've never done it before. And finally, individual support. As I mentioned, we are available for one-on-one technical assistance. All you have to do is ask. We can help with helping you prepare and collect data for your grant reporting expectations. We can also help with surveys, other data collection instruments. We can help you build logic models. We can help you just talk through how to characterize and evaluate and improve on your program model. We're here for any of that, and all you have to do is just a note. We really look forward to working with you. Our team is anytime, and we will be in touch before long with kind of an conversation to get to know and wants. We're so happy to have been able to join you today. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Monica. I'm just gonna get my slides back up here. Bear with me. There we go. Okay, thanks, Aisha and Monica. I hope that you all will take up the opportunity to partner with them and help grow your organizational infrastructure, and also just meet people and like have a place to discuss ideas. I don't get that enough in my life, and I imagine a lot of you don't get that enough either. So it's a great opportunity. Now I'd like to shift to talking about your own organizational evaluation practices to talk about the NEA's at-large evaluation of the Creative Forces grant program. Now I'll turn the floor over to Sean and Candace from ProgramWorks to talk about how you can be part of this evaluation. Sean, over to you.
Okay, can you advance the slide?
Yes, there we go.
Thanks. Thanks, Matt. Hi, everybody. Candace and I are really excited to be here with you today, and our goal is to just give you a very brief overview of the grant program evaluation and how that is different from what VMG is doing. So this is going to be very brief. We only have 2 slides. Well, 3 if you include this one. There will be another opportunity on August 13th. We're hosting a webinar where we will go over the grant program evaluation in greater detail, including the focus of the evaluation, specific evaluation activities, and so forth. We really hope you'll be able to come. We're really excited about this evaluation, and we can explain that a little bit more in the meeting. We hope you come because there'll be a chance to get to know us a little bit better. We get to know you a little bit better. There'll be Q&A time, and there's an opportunity for you to see how the grant program evaluation interacts with your individual grant programs. And Candace will remind you about this before we sign off on our section. I wanted to say a word about the term evaluation before we get too much deeper into this. One is it's what we all use in our field. You know, the folks at VMG, our team, everybody that's in this field uses that. I sometimes feel it's an unfortunate term that the field adopted because it sounds very judgmental. And none of this, as you could see by what VMG presented, it's not about judgment. It's really about learning. And our role is to learn from you. That's what this is. I refer to it more of a study than an evaluation. Our role is to learn from you. We want to learn from you what your successes are, what works in the field, what your needs are, what your challenges are, and what Creative Forces can do to support you as an organization in supporting your participants. It's really, really important. It helps Creative Forces grow and the grant program further develop. And it also helps people understand the impact that you all are having in your communities. So we really hope you will commit to being part of the evaluation. It's important locally, but it's also important more generally. Excuse me. I think that's what I wanted to say about that. Matt, do you want to advance? Sorry. So our team consists of Candace and myself. The 2 of us have been working in this field for several decades. We work in the social services, in the arts, and in education. And we have a background with Creative Forces community engagement. We actually started working with Creative Forces in 2017, helping develop the clinical research agenda. And since that time, we have done a number of projects, both for the clinical side and the creative and the community engagement side, developing logic models, tools, and so forth. And importantly for this, we got to evaluate the, excuse me, we got to evaluate the initial pilot programs for the Creative Forces community engagement program. So the pilot programs that led to the grant program that you are now part of. So we've seen this really interesting arc, and it's one of the reasons we're really, really excited to be here to see the through line. To a little bit more about our role, sort of generally, we are independent of the NEA. This is an independent evaluation. We are contracted by the NEA and we report to the NEA, but we are not affiliated with the agency. This allows us to stand apart. And unlike VMG, who are there supporting you individually, we are an outside observer of what's going on. And as folks at VMG have said, and as Matt said, this is a different animal. And there may be times we anticipate, we've already talked about this as a team, there may be times when it gets a little confusing as to who's doing what. If you are ever confused about what VMG is doing and what our team is doing, please don't hesitate to ask. We're going to be using similar terms for some things, and we know that you're going to want to straighten those out. So please feel free to ask. But our role is to evaluate the grant program as a whole. As mentioned, we'll be looking at the valuation will be designed around the target incomes, which Monica covered the participant outcomes a little while ago, and there's also the organizational outcomes will be, the valuation is based around those you saw in the grant guidelines. An important thing to know is that, and again, this is why I hesitate to use the word evaluation, this is a study of the grant program as a whole. We're not evaluating or studying individual grantees. We're not going to be reporting out on the success or challenges of an individual grantee necessarily. And we're going to be with you for a couple of years. We are here to study this cohort as well as the cohort that begins next summer. And I will turn it over to Candace.
Well, great. Again, it is really nice to have this opportunity to just share briefly, very briefly, what this evaluation looks like. As Sean mentioned, we will have another webinar to go in detail. The evaluation, however, is designed to be fairly simple. This isn't really a high impact evaluation. The activities include interviews, surveys, and case studies with 8 grantees that allow us to go just a little bit deeper to tell the story of the whole. The grantee interview is required, and the other activities are voluntary, and you'll be asked to participate in those based on what your model looks like. So there is some variation depending on what you're doing with your grant, the size of the grant, where you are, and who you're working with. So there will be some variation in what you're asked to do. But our goal is, particularly with the case studies, is to learn about the broad range of activities that is being done, and to be sure that we can really describe everything that's being done across the entire grant program. So as I said, who participates really varies by the program model. All of you will participate in the grantee interview. Other activities may include partners, arts engagement facilitators, and program participants. And we will go into more of what that looks like. But in the next 2 weeks, Sean or I will reach out with you with an email and a further introduction. The way that we work to make sure that this is easy is Sean or I will be assigned to each one of you, and we will be your contact person for this evaluation. So you won't have multiple contacts or having to worry if you should reach out to me or Sean. We'll stay by you to provide some support through the evaluation. We will be sending you information about the orientation webinar that will go into these activities in more detail on August 13th. We highly recommend you attend because it will answer a lot of your questions, and we're providing a lot of time for question and answer. The webinar is optional, and we will record it if you're unable to attend, so you will receive the recorded link as well. So I just hope that you'll enjoy August 18th, and we'll go into all these activities in more detail at this time. I'll hand it back to Matt.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean and Candace. That was a great overview of the evaluation, and I'm definitely looking forward to August 13th. I believe we had a few questions in the chat, and I've tried to answer most of them. Do we know what time that meeting is going to be on the 13th?
Yes, I was actually just starting to write it into the chat. It's at 10 Pacific, 11 Mountain, 12 Central, and 1 Eastern. You will be receiving from Matt, you will be receiving a notification from us. We're trying to coordinate our emails so you're not inundated with emails from a gazillion different people. So Matt will be sending you in an email after this webinar that has information about our webinar in it, and all of that information's in there, including the link and the times.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And by the way, here's our new logo. It'll be available on the mall website very soon, but isn't that nice? Well, we've been talking at you for 40 minutes, so let us wind things down a little bit. And I'd like to invite our captain again, Bill O'Brien, to come back and perhaps share a few words with us about where we're at with Creative Forces versus where we have been, and maybe a little bit about where we're going in the future. Go ahead, Bill.
Sure. Thanks, Matt. So, first of all, I just want to thank VMG and ProgramWorks for joining us, and we've been partnering with these colleagues for quite a while now. Just as I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, and just to understand that I've been in your shoes, I used to be a managing director, producing director of a mid-sized theater in Los Angeles, Deaf West Theater, for 10 years. And I could totally imagine, if I'm in your shoes, that this sounds like a lot of bureaucratic red tape that you've gotten yourself into, logic models and evaluation, et cetera. I will say that the spirit of this isn't to bog you down in stuff. And if it's not useful for you, you don't need to spend a whole lot of time with it. We have found over multiple rounds of these grants, and with the Community Connection Project sort of pilot grants, that this approach to understanding and building capacity around evaluation for your own purposes actually was something that some of the past program leaders in the Creative Forces community engagements projects really did take a shine to. This is a fire hose of information in the beginning, but maybe the best way to kind of think about this is, as Monica indicated, this is really about learning, and Sean also referenced that. It's also, we're not doing this in order to hand out grades at the end. The stuff that TMG is doing is really technical assistance that we are spending a little extra resources to make available to you, to have some sort of one-on-one support, to think about how do I develop a logic model, for example, around this program. And you may wind up finding that is a very useful thing if you have a long-term commitment in your own organization to continue doing this work. It gives you some sense of grounding on how to continue to create a feedback loop for yourself on what are we doing, what are the resources that are needed, how much does it cost, and ultimately, what are we trying to do here? And I think there's two levels of outcomes that we've been thinking about from the beginning. One of them, Monica shared earlier on the participant outcomes. It's such an important thing. I'm surprised I haven't referenced it yet. But the whole reason for Creative Forces is to support the health and well-being of military through the arts. And we had some intuitive sort of belief that could happen. And part of this evaluation on the program work side is to allow us to really pay attention to what we're trying to do here and to see if our program needs to be adjusted. Do we have the right outcomes? Do we need to tweak those? What are we learning from the grantees? And then the VMG support is really, that's meant for you to build capacity around these areas to the level that you're interested. And I think there's organizational capacity that we didn't reference, but is important to us. We hope that our time with you develops a stronger ability for you to carry on this work in the future. And this is one way that we hope to do that. But a more important way, I think, that we can do that is to create a sense of community around the work that we're doing, create peer-to-peer network and support. And our future conversations are really going to be much more about you guys hearing about each other, us hearing about you, and not entirely just us presenting information to you. But at the core of this, we're on a learning endeavor together. We want to understand better how the arts can support military populations' health and well-being in these focus areas we talked about. We also want organizations who carry out this work with us to feel stronger and better about the work that they're doing. And the key way that we do that, or the key ways that we do that, are through these evaluation support. But I think especially, just as I mentioned, a sense of community, the ability to see each other and to feel seen by each other, so that you take some, I think, inspiration that you're not the only ones doing this. And in aggregate, we're doing something really important and we're learning about it and we're sharing about what we're learning as we go. Everybody who's been around Creative Forces at any point has heard me say many times, it is first and foremost a learning endeavor. We want to understand how the arts can be of service to military. And I think from the get-go, the common denominator that I think we've sensed and seen in military culture and arts culture is an interest and sense of mission and purpose that has to do with belonging to something bigger than yourself. That's at the core of military service. That's why they raise their hands. I think it's at the core of the impulse to make art, to understand who are we in context of bigger things. And in this case, in context of military service and how we can support them best. And one last thing I just want to mention, in the history of Creative Forces, we started really clinically in a partnership with the DoD that eventually expanded to the VA. We have 12 clinics across the country where we have embedded creative arts therapists who are studying how creative arts therapies, art therapy, music therapy, dance movement therapy, et cetera, can help the healing process, especially for TBI and PTSD. That then expanded out into this community-based effort where we feel like there's more support the arts community can do outside of clinical settings, but still has a focus on health and well-being and how the arts can help create places, sandboxes, where people can create, make meaning of things, and assist in the areas that we've kind of pointed out: successful life transitions, building social connections. That's sort of a no-brainer. But especially the program work is us trying to keep honest with ourselves on, okay, well, we said that at the beginning. Is that what's happening? The best way we can understand that is to continue to be in conversation with folks. And for anyone who really wants to be a part of that inquiry, that's where Program Works comes in. Getting back to the clinical program, we do have one of our creative arts therapists, one of our founding cats, as we call them, Rebecca Vaudreuil, if you just want to give a wave. Rebecca started our first music therapy program at Walter Reed. Then she ended up starting programs in Camp Pendleton, California, in Colorado. She's helped stand up all of our music therapy programs. And we're having our cats engage with the community work. I see Rahman is on board and Exit 12. Great to see you again. He had one of our creative arts therapists be involved in the design and the rehearsal and the execution of one of the earlier projects. We learn from each other that way. I think the cats learn a lot from what you guys do. It's not therapy, it's therapeutic, whatever that means. But I think there is such a level of interest and intrigue around the role the arts can play in arts and health writ large. And there's a community component of that. And you guys are in a really important sort of vanguard position of helping us do the kind of work that helps us understand how does this contribute to arts and health and well-being. And you already have the expertise. You don't have to learn it from us. You know how to build a program that's engaging. You know how to build a program that people want to come to and enjoy spending time with each other. And that is healthy, especially for people who are going through challenging, military to civilian transition can be very challenging. Some of you are focusing more on that than others, but if you've been a part of the military culture and you had your mission and purpose really clear to you when you wake up in the morning, and now you're no longer a part of that culture, you're not at that base, you don't have those people around you, you need to reestablish your community. And I think arts folks in local areas are the best, or certainly among the best equipped to help address those needs. I think that's it for me, but if anybody has any questions, we have about 9 minutes. Just kind of want to open up the floor, unless, Matt, if there's something else that you need to address. Other than that, Rebecca, if you just want to say hi and a little bit about the work that you do and how you look at what the community side does. Don't want to put you on the spot. Didn't give you a rehearsal period for that, but maybe you can kick it off that way. Otherwise, just happy to hear any thoughts or questions. And again, when we circle back again, and especially at the all hands in-person meeting that will happen in early part of 2026, a lot of what we're going to be doing on these calls and in these all hands situations is plugging you guys into each other, and creating opportunities for you to see each other's work, let other people see your work. And I think that's the best learning, possibilities is going to be associated with that. Rebecca?
Hey, yeah, thanks, Bill. Hi, everyone. As Bill was mentioning, in all the communities that I've worked in, it's just been a pleasure and an honor to be involved in the community arts organizations with the artists and all the programming. It really does such a benefit in the clinical capacity to be able to, as our patients move through treatment, take more on of that creative role rather than a patient role, and just that beautiful transition. But also, as we work on that clinic to community continuum, we absolutely recognize the power of that community bidirectionality to the clinic continuum and everywhere in between, and everyone plays such a vital and important role in that. So it's not always one way, which is amazing because everyone comes into the arts in different spaces and places and times. But congratulations to you all. This is so exciting to see this year's grantees, and I'm looking forward to being involved in this as much as I can. As Bill said, I am the lead music therapist for Creative Forces, but I also am a co-lead of the Creative Forces Community Engagement Strategic Goal Squad. So we love learning from the grantees, from the reports that Sean and Candace do, from all the work that comes out of your programs, and yeah, learning together. So that's what it's all about, Bill, the learning adventure and venture. So thanks so much. So happy to be here.
Thanks, Rebecca. If anyone has a question, you can feel free to take yourself off mute or throw it in the chat real quick. We'll just sit for a moment and see if that happens. I was a teacher once in the past, so I know to count to about 10 or so when you're actually asking for questions. But
I
not,
have one.
oh, please go ahead, Patricia.
Bill, everyone's obsessed with your cat. What's your kitty's name?
I'm putting this in the chat right now. That is Boo Cat, photobombing our he's had some issues with I'm trying to remember, it's thyroid stuff or whatever. And he's been taken to the medicine pretty well, and he's back to his old obnoxious self, as I said in the chat. He's a very invasive cat. We have another one who you will never see. I love them both. They couldn't be more different.
Do we have any other pet questions? Hey, that's okay if we don't.
I actually have a non-pet question as well.
All good then. Yes, go ahead.
We are in a position to slightly expand on what we were going to do with the grant, in that we have the opportunity now to show some of the artwork that we're creating with the veterans. And I wasn't sure Matt, would I go back to you and talk about that, or how would that manifest if we wanted to include a gallery type component, or is it too late?
Oh, I had imagined that's something that we would be able to facilitate in the scope of your grant award. And just for everybody's knowledge, like if there are changes like that, especially if they don't impact the budget significantly, it's generally going to be okay. Just reach out and talk to us about it. So please go ahead and send me an email and we can schedule a meeting to talk about it. Other questions?
Saloon number 10 got named 10 of the best bars in the US.
Who did?
Matt, this is Hilda at the Foundry Arts Center.
Hi, Hilda.
Hi. I just want to clarify. So if I have a question, I reach out to you.
Yes, hi.
And when somebody, the other two groups, the NEA what is it?
VM.
There's V.
Yeah, whenever, so if they reach out to me and then I contact them, right? If there's, and that would be more about evaluation. One would be for the whole system, and one would be to help me like with tools and stuff to do the evaluation, correct?
That's totally right. And just to
Oh,
reiterate,
all right.
yeah, I'm the person, if you have questions about your award or anything in your grant program, like in general, I'm the person to reach out to, especially like your budget, if you need to make adjustments, if you got some big thing going on. For one-on-one technical assistance with your for your organization's own evaluation capacity, you can reach out to, and you will be talking, will be hearing from Monica and Aisha. And then for the NEA's evaluation of the grant program, you'll be hearing from Sean and Candace from Program Works. So it's a lot of information, and I appreciate you all being patient and receptive to it. It's totally understandable if it goes out of your thoughts as soon as we leave this meeting. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, and it may have been, it might have been helpful in the beginning to just kind of lay out who the NEA is versus MA and how that works. So the National Endowment for the Arts is a federal agency. You're probably, some of you have other grants with us right now, I've noticed in the chat. MA, Mid-America Arts Alliance, is one of 7 regional arts organizations across the country. And they are among a few handful of types of entities that are legally authorized to subgrant money from us. So we couldn't do this with a typical nonprofit organization. We are allowed to do it with regional arts organizations. We can do it with state arts agencies and tribal communities and other federal or state or local entities. But the key thing maybe to just have in mind is that we're the originating funder. It's our program. We need to answer to Congress on what we're doing with their money, and they like this program a lot. So does our leadership. And then we do a large contract called a cooperative agreement with MA, and that contract and the funding involved with that contract allows them then to subgrant funds to you. It also allows them to contract VMG for technical support on evaluation. And the contract that you have related to this grant is directly related to MA, and Matt is your point person. So if anything that's related to your contract, that's a conversation with Mid-America Arts Alliance. Where we would interact with you is in times like this. We're all kind of part of the same thing. And there may be some other opportunities or times. Somebody had mentioned a senator had sent a letter. We do sometimes get involved in a very proactive, positive way, if it makes sense. And when it makes sense, we've had, since the announcement, there's been a few, and a few still in the works, congressional folks, whether in the House or Senate. We conduct outreach, so does Margaret Q, who's from MA, who's on the call. That's all very confusing. But we wanted to let people know who are in your district, basically, congressionals in your district or state. We let them know that, hey, this thing you've appropriated is coming back to an organization doing really great work. And that has sometimes led to a congressional visit. And that's all great. I do understand that there's, and there is, it's an interesting time in terms of support for the arts, but that has been, I think, pretty strong, especially for these kinds of activities. And for anybody who's been following that, the numbers that have been coming out, especially from the Senate, but even from the House, indicate that there is still strong support for the arts, and especially for military support for the arts. So I'm getting off on a little bit of a tangent. It's great to hear that you're getting that positive support. We'd love to help put you in touch with people if that makes sense at any point. But other than that, the day-to-day stuff is really Ma and Matt sort of administering. They're providing the administration support for this grant program. but we'll interact with you on occasion. We'll invite you to our offices in, I forget what the date is. Is it February next year? For the in-person all hands.
Oh, in March, yeah.
Yeah, in March. So that will be at our offices, and we look forward to hosting you then. But yeah, this is a little complicated to understand, but ultimately you are carrying out work that's funded by the NEA and administered by the Mid-America Arts Alliance. If that's how the boilerplate above the title bureaucratic language would look.
Cool. Any other corporate governance questions? I know we're running a little bit over time. If anyone needs to go, please go ahead, but I don't mind sticking around a few extra minutes to answer some questions.
So Christina has one in the chat about how might we find geographic projects near us geographically? I think probably the best way to, Matt, you might have a better answer, but we have the list of all the projects and where they are up on MA's website. So, you can find things there. You might have to do a Google search to find exactly where it is on the map.
There's the link.
Yeah. And we do have a map that we update occasionally. I don't know that we have, I don't think we have that at the moment for this round of grants. So we're also migrating. We did have we had a National Resource Center in previous rounds, and it's one of the things that we've cut back on a little bit. We didn't want to cut back on the amount of grants that we're funding. So some of that stuff is a little lighter this year than it was last year. That's probably the best way to do that. Do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
All right, last call for questions. Well, thank you all for your time today. It's so great that you could be here and endure a lot of being talked at a lot. But I hope you found this information helpful. And again, if you ever have any questions about your grant award, you can reach out to me. Yeah, and with that, I think we'll just say goodbye and have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care, everybody.